in a room not so far away, but depending on where you live, it may be far away, Jared decided to start a podcast. But then one day, he made it something better. And with due guests always coming, we never know who will be next. Will our hero... Oh.
What are you doing? You're gonna get copyrighted.
No, I'm doing the open and crawl.
Okay, I can't complain. It stops.
Right? Alright, well... Yep. Great, you made me lose my groove.
Well, it's either money or no money, or demonetization. I don't know how
you
demonetization
think I get
works.
money from this?
Yes, profit.
Fair enough.
Hand over the money.
No.
Please?
No.
Ricky, please?
Alright, well, I mean, great. Made me lose my groove. Well, as long as you're here, do you want to help me do a podcast real quick?
Sure.
Alright, well, hey everyone. Welcome back to the Triple J podcast. Today we're going to be talking about... Do you even know what movie we're going to be talking about?
Nope.
Great. We will be talking about Spaceballs from 1987.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about then. Perfect. So Spaceballs, for those who don't know, is essentially a spoof on the critically acclaimed Star Wars, which I don't think we've done a podcast on yet. And also, David, how are you today?
I have a lot of work to do today, but aside from that, it's been going great.
Cool.
Yay.
I've been talking to people, and they're like, you never ask how your guest are. So I'm like, that's it. I'm going to open them all now is, how are you?
All right.
But yeah, also, this is the season finale.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've done 10 episodes of this, so we're in double digits, baby!
Yes!
Woo!
Double digits. And I'm glad to be here on the 10th one then.
Right?
Yay.
So, so this is something big. So, the next episode will be season 2. Duh.
Ooh.
But we'll still be going episode 11, 12, just for simplicity's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess the best way to start talking about it is simply to just jump in. Let's go in a hyperdrive right into Spaceballs. Onwards! So the film, as previously mentioned, came out in 1987, and it was directed, produced, and written by Mel Brooks, who is also the creator of Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. So he has a very long history of making these type of spin-off of sorts. It stars Mel Brooks as two, who we'll talk about later, John Candy, Rick Moranis, Bill Pullman, Daphne Zuniga, Dick Van Pattern, George Weiner, and Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
The music was done by Joan Morris, which I don't know if you caught, but it really did sound a little like the actual Star Wars film. So something interesting there, really keeping to the theme of the whole thing. And with a budget of $22.7 million, it received a box office of $38.1 million. So it did okay.
Yeah, it did okay.
It did all right.
I mean, I think over the years, though, it sort of blew up and became really, really popular afterwards.
Oh, yeah. It's known as a cult classic today. Many refer to it countless times.
Yes. It is a deity. I praise it every day.
Every day I wake up and it's like, it's Spaceballs. So, yes, we'll be talking about more of the actors as well, of who plays who and who plays what. And it was distributed by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or MGM. So, David, why don't you open the scene? What happens?
All right. It first opens the movie with your special, always in space-themed, giant wall of text.
The crawl, yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Coco. Coco's my dog. We
Doggo.
have a special guest of Coco.
All right.
He's okay. All right,
Okay,
so
back on track.
Back on track.
So it opens with the giant wall of text and tells us what's up. Let's see, it summarizes what's going on with the Spaceballs trying to gain oxygen from their neighboring planet, I believe.
Druidia.
Yes, Druidia. And yes, for some reason, Druidia just has a bubble shield with one singular gate on it.
Yeah, which did confuse me in the sense of who built it and how it's up there, but okay. I'm pretty sure they also had a Phineas and Ferb episode that was similar to that.
Really?
Something like that. I wanted to say, I don't know.
Ooh.
Don't quote me on that.
All right.
But yes, so Spaceball, the planet Spaceball, who's led by President Scrobe, who is played by Mel Brooks. The opening scroll is essentially saying that they want their heir, and
we want it now.
Yeah, and they'll get it for 10,000 years, and it'll be lovely.
My question, though, is how are they even alive, then, if they don't even have air in the first place?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but around the ship, they have these little signs that are like, conserve air, breathe less, or something like that. And I was like, I'm
just going to stop breathing for a little while.
Yeah, you're only allowed 5 breaths a minute. So yeah, this is also when we're introduced to, similar to Star Wars, Rick Moranis, who plays Dark Helmet, essentially Darth Vader. And before we go any further, this is a very difficult film to talk about because there are a lot of innuendos and a lot of different jokes. So if we ever kind of like skip some scenes that you want us to talk about, just watch the movie and kind of guess what we thought of it. I was thinking about
replacing certain words with other words, such as like...
We can do that too.
Bees.
Yeah, well...
maybe something else.
That's true. Anytime there's something that is something we don't want to talk about because of our audience and all of that, then we'll replace it with a different word.
We don't want to be demonetized.
You still think I get money. Or that I'm paying you.
Well, I mean... You're not paying me?
I don't know who you've been receiving money from, but it ain't from me.
Oh, I thought I would get like $1 a year.
Unless Anthony's coming over and just paying you.
Yeah.
Why is he getting money now? So, yes, this is also when we're introduced to King Roland and his daughter, and Princess Vespa, and she is on her way to an arranged marriage with her droid of honor, Dot Matrix, who, of course, is a C-3PO ripoff.
But better.
And Princess Vespa is played by Daphne Zuniga, and Dot Matrix, at least the voice, is played by Joan Rivers, and the actual Dot Matrix is played by Lauren Yarnold Jansen.
Oh, an interesting fact about the actual actor about the Dot Matrix, I think I read up on it a little bit. They were, I believe, a world-famous mime.
Huh.
Yeah, just a little fact.
I didn't know that. Good to know he's in the mine industry and he decided to go into that. Sure. So yes, she decides I can't marry this guy because, of course, his name is Prince Valium, and he's alright. He's just kind of, he's just there.
Yeah,
I don't think he really understood what was happening.
No, I think he was like yawning through the entire thing.
He was. So they fly away because they're like, I'm out of here, and they fly away. And this is also when we're introduced to Lone Star and a Mog, which is a half man and a half dog, or essentially Chewbacca, but his name is Barf, and he actually talks, so we can understand him.
Yay.
What did you think of these two?
I mean, I think it's like probably it could be potentially portrayed as maybe mocking what most heroes would be. Like, usually it would cut to them and like doing their thing, and they'd all usually be like fancy and they would have an organized room and everything. However, it sort of cuts to them with a space RV, and then the entire room's a mess and everything. So I'd say it sort of gives a bit of a different form of portrayal to the heroes or the main protagonists of the story. Yeah,
it's essentially just a takeoff of what you would expect to something like this. And yeah, you're exactly right in the sense that Barf is just kind of and that's his name. I'm not making that up. He's just eating what appears to be maybe like, I don't know, rice?
I don't know. Something. It looked weird.
It looked
like mushed up dog food with Cheerios or something.
See, and I thought it looked like melted KFC or something.
Melted KFC.
Either way, it doesn't sound good, right?
No.
So, but yeah, they're offered a reward of 1 million space bucks if they can retrieve Vespa. And why do they need the $1 million?
Because Pizza the Hut exists.
Yeah, what?
It's like Jabba the Hutt, but worse.
Yeah. Now, Pizza the Hut, I'm going to see who actually played that. But why don't you explain what happens in the scene? What does he say?
All right, so they're both sort of just in their spaceship doing their own space things in space. And then they get an incoming call transmission from Pizza the Hutt and his advisor, which is some robot guy. I don't think they mentioned his name. Anyways, Pizza the Hutt
His name is Vinny.
Vinny. Oh, all right.
Who's played by Rudy De Luca.
All right. Anyways, Pizza the Hutt's all like, you guys know how you owed me some money? And they're both like, yeah. Now it's $1 million, and you gotta get it to me by tomorrow. So, they freak out.
Oh, I got him. So, the voice was played by Dom DeLuise. Yep. And that was his voice. And then there's people credited in here as Dink. And I know what that means, but...
Dink?
Yeah, the little,
Oh!
Yeah, we'll get to them later. And then Rick Lazzarani, who played Pizza the Hut, and Ape Number 2, who he was uncredited. Ooh. I don't think I'd want to go like, hi, so, what are you known for? I played Pizza the Hut. Welcome to the job.
Ape Number 2.
Yeah. Little fun fact. Pizza Guy, Ape Number 1 was never even credited.
Oof.
Michael York, we got you. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Pizza the Hut, disgusting. I didn't like him.
Indeed, I thought it was pizza, but,
he's never referred to again in the film.
Oh, he is? You're right! Huh.
I don't think he is, at least. Yeah, no, he's just kind of... He's there. Just kind of... Essentially exactly like Star Wars. Yeah, essentially like Jabba the Hutt. He's there for one scene, and then he's like, there he is.
Ta-da.
Do you think Jabba the Hutt will return for Star Wars 9?
Star Wars 9?
Yeah. Rise of Skywalker, or whatever it's called.
Oh, wait, they're actually doing that?
Yeah.
I lost count after 5.
Yeah, no, well... yeah, no, that's a thing. Huh. Which, of course, we're going to do one on. Because Anthony has already... Anthony showed me the trailer for it. Yeah. And then he's like, this looks iffy. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'll watch it. And he's like, we're doing a podcast. So I'm like,
perfect.
Dang
Another chance to steal his wallet.
Exactly. Exactly. So, where were we? Yeah. So, Pizza the Hut, he says, need the money. And they're like, shoot, how are we going to get that? Oh, I know. Let's rescue Vespa. And very simplicity, they do. Spaceball 1, they start kind of laser beaming them in.
Yeah.
And this is when Barf just comes down. And he's like, all right, get on the RV. Because they are driving an RV. Mm-hmm. And it's called a Winnebago. Which is... Yeah, Winnebago. That's like the people that actually make RVs.
Oh, okay.
Winnebago Industries.
I thought it was more like Win-A-Bagel.
Nope. Win a bagel for free. So, yep, they jammed the system, which intended just chucking raspberry jam into the system. And this is also when we're introduced to the one person that I thought was very talented in the film, Michael Winslow, who was the radar technician, and he was doing all of the sound effects.
Oh, I thought that was awesome.
He was incredible. And, yeah, it was just the way that... It was everything else in the film... to me at least, kind of seemed either overacted or underacted. This guy, I think, was very well in the film because of how talented he specifically was. Mm-hmm. So for him to do all that, what did you think of him?
I thought that the gag with him, I thought that was awesome because I actually didn't understand that he was making the noises until halfway through. And when I did realize that, I thought to myself, that is freaking awesome. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's like you really want lessons from him. Like, teach me your ways! So, yep, and then this is when Dark Helmet and Colonel Sanders, we forgot to mention him, but Dark Helmet goes like, there's only one man that would jam my system with raspberry. Lodestar. So they're like, shoot, he's on to us. And they're like, all right, we're about to catch him. And this is when they go into their hyperspace type of idea.
Hyper something.
Or like super speed or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's hyper jump, maybe?
Could be hyper jump. But either way, yeah, they eventually escape. And then this is when a helmet goes, all right, go into ludicrous speed. And I'm like, okay, this might just be like a short 5-minute gag. It went on for a while.
Yeah.
So describe the scene.
So essentially, okay, we already explained that Lone Star and Barf, they saved the princess and Dot Matrix, and they're going into hyperspeed to escape the Spaceball 1. So they decided to go even faster than them, because they wouldn't be able to catch up. So they go to ludicrous speed, essentially what happens is literally everybody panics. It's like, close down the circus, everybody take your seatbelts.
Evacuate the zoo! Yeah.
Yes. And then, so, Lord Helmets, he doesn't want to take a seatbelt or anything because he's like, I got this, I'm a professional. And so, essentially, when they do go to ludicrous speed, he's just hanging on to the control board for his dear life.
Mm-hmm.
And
then eventually they decide, like, all right, like, shoot, we passed! Which was something that I always thought of going, like, wouldn't they, like, even in Star Wars, when I would watch them, like, what if they passed them? They wouldn't know because it's all blue. Yeah. So, yep, eventually they do pull an emergency stop that says, don't ever touch. And then Dark Helmet slams his head right into the electrical outlet type of thing.
And he gets Dane Bramage.
Sure. His helmet just kind of flattens out, and then they go like, we're going to take a little 5-minute break real quick. And yeah, that was the bit. These are the bits we're dealing with. So Lone Star discovers that, okay, we're out of fuel, going to have to pull an emergency landing real quick, and they go on to a desert moon of Vega. All right. I thought that was kind of a unique twist of just having a moon made of sand.
It was a moon? I thought it was just a planet.
Nope, it's a desert moon of Vega.
Huh.
Yeah. So they go out, and the princess is like, only bring your essentials. She brings all of her matched luggage, and then this is when the bit of...
It is a requirement.
It's a requirement. And she brings her giant hair dryer.
Yeah, the huge hair dryer thing that takes up the biggest piece of luggage.
Mm-hmm. And then Lone Star's like, I'm not picking that up. And they eventually leave it, I guess.
They leave it, but they still carry the empty trunk.
Yeah, which, fine, I guess, if they find anything like sand and they need it. But yeah, and this is when, after a while, we come across the Dinks.
Yes.
They only talk like this, and I really don't know why, but they only go dink, dink, dink.
It's like...
How can you do that?
I don't know. It really hurts my throat, though. And this is where we're introduced to the Dinks, where they only say one thing, dink. And that... What did you think of them? Because I'm sure we have different point of views.
Honestly, when I first saw them, I thought they were going to be like the Jawas, and I think one of the first few movies.
That's who they're supposed to portray,
right.
I believe.
Because I thought what they were going to do is, like, they were going to, I don't know, steal their stuff or wallets or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't exactly expect them to help him out, which I found was, like, maybe a little bit of an interesting twist. So it sort of helped progress the story, because I honestly didn't know what was going to happen, because they all passed out. I thought they were just going to go through their wallets or something and then just ditch him. Or something along those lines. And one of them is actually played by Tony Cox, who some may know from Bad Santa in 2003. And also Me, Myself, and Ernie in 2000. So, I guess he's doing okay. Because he's still acting in 2016 with Bad Santa too. But he was the one that played the elf. I see.
Essentially. And of course there's all these other dinks. I'm sad they don't have different names of like David or like Michael or something. I don't know. David Bowie. Yeah. But yep, Ed Gale, Antonia Hoyes, Felix Celia, all great people.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. But yeah, they actually come onto the screen by doing a little nod to Snow White with the 7 dwarves.
Oh, I thought that was a nod to The Breakfast Club. They did the whistle quite similar to that.
Yeah, the da-da.
Unless if that was from Snow White.
Well, no, it wasn't. It might have been. I'd have to hear the song again. My first... You know what? I think you're right. I think that is how they played it. So, yeah. Actually, you know what? Give us 1 second. Hold on. All right. Sorry for that weird cut. We just had to check it out real quick. Yep, David was right.
Yes.
Yeah, congrats. You get... What do you want, a medal? No.
I want my paycheck.
You're not getting one.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Could I at least borrow your wallet?
No.
Permanently?
No.
Please?
Give it back.
Oh.
But no, as soon as I get paid, then I'll think about payment. But either way, yes, David was right. It is a the song that they were playing that Jonathan and I discussed in the Breakfast Club. I guess that was a popular song in the 80s.
It was a good song. I definitely do like it.
It's fine.
Catchy.
Yeah. So they're all wearing, as David described, kind of the similar ideas to the. Do they have a name in Star Wars?
I thought it was a Jawa.
Sure. So they're essentially spoofing the Jawas at this point, and they're like ding 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 ding, and they bring them up to this weird little temple type of thing, which is a spoof on the Wizard of Oz, with the great and powerful Yogurt. Yogurt, who are you? And Yogurt is also played by Mel.
Yeah,
Mel Brooks. Yes.
Yes.
You were gonna say something.
I said when you said. But
cool.
You said it, so I said.
So said. Cool. So Yogurt comes up and he introduces Lone Star to the Schwartz ripoff of the Force, which is like
powered by a magical ring that looks like one of those football things you buy for $200.
Essentially, yeah, it looks like a class ring almost, just with a little thing on the very top. And this is also when Yogurt is essentially breaking the fourth wall and introducing the audience to like, hey, look, there's merchandising.
Buy our stuff.
Buy our stuff. You can get
kids love the flamethrower.
Yeah. You got the flamethrower. You got the Spaceballs cereal. You have the Spaceball game, I think was one. Mm-hmm. And then the Spaceball action figure Yogurt.
Yes.
I understood their joke there, and I thought it was kind of funny.
They got it all.
They got it all. All the kids will love it. And this is also the first point in the film where we really see this kind of fourth wall. There was one at the beginning where Lord Hellman actually discusses straight to the audience of like, everyone get that? That's what we're doing? This is the plot? But this is more directly advertising the film. Would you say that still today that Star Wars is heavily advertised?
I would think...
Or better question, do you think there's a limit to how much a film can advertise himself?
I would think probably so, because I know for a fact if you were to sort of just keep on harassing somebody about something, it would get to the point where, like, at first they'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll keep note of that, and it seems pretty cool. But if you harass them to the point where they're so annoyed, they just will not bother about it anymore. It's like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, it can get a little annoying after a while. I just went online and looked up Spaceball products, and you can get Spaceball the poster, Spaceball the pouch, Spaceball the poster frame, Spaceball the t-shirt.
Spaceballs, the coffee machine.
It doesn't look like we can get the flamethrower, though.
Oh,
we can make our own.
Yes.
So, yes, this is also when we get a little bit of the flirting between Star and Vespa. You can kind of see, but Vespa insists that she can only be married to a prince, which reminded me a lot of Aladdin.
Yes.
In the sense of when Jasmine was like, I can only be married to a prince, and they're about to kiss, and we're getting there. And this is where we're going to censor this one thing. So then Dot Matrix comes up, and her bee alarm turns on.
Bees.
People who have seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. Her bee alarm pops up, and she's like, "Hey, you can't be talking to Vespa like that.
There's bees nearby.
There's bees nearby. Yeah, you don't want to get stung, do you?"
And then it ruins the entire moment.
Yeah, they're like, "Shoot these darn bees!" And now we're having a bee apocalypse. The bees are dying. This has not become a podcast anymore. This is a PSA, David.
This is reality.
We gotta save the bees.
How?
Go call your local governor and insist that they save the bees.
Sue the government and give the money to the bees.
I just happen to think that I don't think I've ever shown you or anyone else or really talked about it with anyone else, but we actually have I go onto a website called Wooshka, which thank you Wooshka. They don't advertise me. They don't really know me, I think. But Wooshka's this great podcast site where I actually go and can see exactly where everyone is listening to it and how many people are listening to it. So thank you, Wooshka. But it's also where I can see where a lot of people are listening to it. So I guess this is a good point as any. David, where would you say that Triple J is most... Better question. What would you say is the most listened to
That is a good question.
And then also, where would you say we were most listened to?
All right. Just out of pure guessing, I'd say probably your most viewed one might have been one of the Lion King's one, because I know you did one with Anthony on the normal one and then the live action one, right?
Yep, we did it on both.
All right. And I do know we have viewers in Japan, but I think I'm going to have to go with the safe bet of America.
Yes, we actually have 28 people in America who have downloaded us.
Ooh.
We have... And this is what I absolutely love about just going around and seeing different... I love seeing where we're actually listened to. You were close, because I thought that it would have been one of the Lion King ones too. Mm-hmm. Number 5 is Indiana Jones. Number 4 is The Breakfast Club with 10. Mm-hmm. The Lion King, the 1994 cartoon one. Mm-hmm. The Lion King 2019 is number 2. And actually, it's yours of E.T.,
Whoa.
Which is the most popular.
Oh, snap.
Our least popular is Detective Pikachu and the Muppet movie, but I'll take it. Pikachu. So, but yeah, I'll take those. And we also, our most, blah, blah, blah. Yep, of course, our most is, our top 5 are the United States with 28, which is only 41% of people. Oh. Our second is Australia, South Korea, Spain, and Vietnam. So to our 2 people in Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam! You don't get that reference, do you?
No, I'm not smart.
I'll show you. No, you're smart, but I'll show you later. We also have 2 people in Brazil, 1 person in Cambodia, 1 in New Zealand, 1 in India, and 1 in Egypt. So hi to our 1 people in those countries. But what I thought was interesting was in city-wise, Seoul, the main area in South Korea, 7 people.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm like, that's pretty neat. No one in North Korea that I can tell. We actually don't have anyone in Japan.
I thought we mentioned that one at some point.
We have 2 in Brazil. This is cool. Last time I checked, we had 7, I think, in America. So that's pretty neat to check out.
Good amount.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. And then a lot of people listening on their phones. So right now, we're in someone's phone. We have an 83.8% chance of being on someone's phone right now.
Cool.
Right?
I hope the battery doesn't die on us.
We're a virus! No. But yeah, so that was our little break from the film.
All right. Out of the intermission and back to the story.
So yeah, right after the scene of the merchandising and when the B mode had activated, this is when we were brought back to Dark Helmet and Colonel Sanders. And once again, we have another fourth wall breaking. Which, David, can you explain what a fourth wall breaking is? Because I don't know how to explain it very well.
It's when they look at the camera and they punch the No. Okay, that's not a good explanation. Okay, how about this? So, usually what a fourth wall break consists of is they usually use an element or they bring up something that usually is not actually intended to be in the sort of universe of the movie or whatever's going on. So it would be more so like they at some point they brought up the fact that they can't find them on the desert planet, and so one of the colonels is like, I know, let's look at the Spaceballs movie.
Yep, and that's where we are now. So I just looked up what the definition of a fourth wall is. The fourth wall is a performance convention in which an invisible imagined wall separates actors from the audience. So it's essentially when you break the fourth wall, the people in the movie are directly referring to the real world. So, David, yeah, as you were saying, one of the people, they come up and they say, hey, we got one of these things. We can get the movie right now. Dark Helmet just goes, how can we? We're in the middle of making it. Well, yeah, but they got this thing called instant cassettes, and they get a VHS copy of Spaceballs next to all of the other Mel Brooks films, and they put it straight in. They start fast forwarding, and then this is when we get to the scene of the now, where they can't get to the now because they're here now, type of thing.
Why now?
Yep. And then what happens after that?
I'm pretty sure they were trying to get to the now. They lost it, but then it immediately cuts to them being in the desert. So therefore, they decided to go and track them down. I believe.
Yep, they essentially go like, okay, well, this really isn't gonna help that much. So they decide, okay, we have to go out there and we just have to start combing the planet.
Yes.
They take that literally, and they get these giant combs, and they comb the planet. Ha, funny joke.
If they could, I probably would use one of those combs. They seemed like they worked very well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, my question is, where would they get those type of things right now?
That's a good question.
I don't know. It just seems very... A lot of the jokes are taken literally. I don't know. I can't wait until we get to write the film. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Mm-hmm. So, they start combing the walls, and meanwhile, we have Vespa and all of them. They're captured by Planet Spaceball. They are eventually found because Vespa was let out of the area due to Dark Helmet actually tricking her into being her father. Mm-hmm. And this is when they're on the ship and they threaten to reverse Vespa's nose job and give her an old nose unless her father gives them the code to actually break into Charidia.
Dun, dun, dun.
Whatever will they do? And he gives in and he goes, all right, here's the code. 1.
Okay.
2.
Okay.
3. 4. 5. And then they start going like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's so stupid.
That's the type of code somebody would use on their luggage.
And then Mel Brooks. Yeah,
President Scrooge.
President Scrooge walks in and they go, okay, what's the code? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, man. Someone's got to tell me to change that from my luggage. From my luggage. And it's like, haha. And during this, they come in and they... what are their names? Barf and Lone Star.
Yes.
They do break in, very Star Wars-like, as I believe it was episode 4. And they break in and they do eventually find her very quickly, in the sense that it was just kind of like, all right. And this is when, this is also when we learned that she's a bass.
Ah, yes.
When she can sing. So she did fine. This is all right. And they break them out. And they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? We can't get out of here. There's so many people. Soldiers are going to shoot us.
Despite, we could probably walk in front of them and they'll always miss.
Yep. And then one of them shoots Vespa. And that's when Vespa takes a gun. Gets all of them.
You messed up my hair.
Yeah, essentially. And they go whoosh, and they're all gone. Which, in fairness, I wasn't as surprised in the sense that it was just, it's a gun. If they're all standing in a line, all she would have to do is done. Call it a day.
Laser.
Yeah, it's essentially just a laser gun going straight across. So, very simple. I don't want to talk about guns. But yeah, so they leave, and then this is also when Spaceball 1, the giant ship that they're on, transforms into the Mega Maid.
Dun, 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 dun.
What did you think of it? By the way, the Mega Maid is a robotic maid with a vacuum cleaner.
I would think that was quite a drastic transformation. Honestly, I thought when they were transforming that they were going to turn into Voltron or something.
Well, they mentioned that it was going to turn into a Transformer, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. That's a weird reference. But of course, that came out.
I thought that was quite interesting because it sort of just showed the sort of entire transformation. I suppose the CGI already make people sort of in awe, I suppose. Yeah,
it was very impressive of how it was all done, but at the same point, I think that it could have been literally anything else. It could have just been a vacuum in my mind.
Oh, I thought it was just a vacuum. I watched it a few years back when I was smaller.
Yeah, you watched it before. This was actually my first time sitting down and watching the full thing. Because, have you seen any other of his films?
What were his other films?
Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, those type of films. He's mainly known for making these type of spoofs.
So, more so parody movies?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm probably wrong on this assumption, but I think he's probably the one who made the movie that was also, I think, a spoof called Airplane.
I don't know if he did. No, that was Jim Abraham.
Okay, I see. Alright, but, what was the question again?
If you had seen any of his other films.
Well, then that's a no, then.
That is a no. Mel Brooks is still alive, by the way.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Then he is a living legend, quite literally.
He also was in the military.
Oh.
I didn't know that. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. I don't know what that is, but sure, why not?
All right.
Part of the Western Front of World War II. Cool. Thank you, Wiki. So, yeah, during this point, they turn on the vacuum, and this is when they start sucking off all of the air of the planet, and then as soon as everyone's going to die, what's going to happen? Lone Star uses the Schwartz, and he reverses the vacuum, and all of the air goes back on. And then once the air is all back, they go back and they go through the ear of the Mega Maid, and they are like, okay, we got to figure out how to destroy it. Lone Star finds the button after going out of the ship, and he's about to fight with Dark Helmet with kind of essentially a lightsaber.
Lightsaber, yes.
Lightsabers with the Schwartz ring, because they both have that.
A Schwartz
which
saber.
I guess can be both a laser and a lightsaber, because we saw Lord Helmet fire a few shots.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He used that a few times throughout the film.
Yeah, it was very... Again, I don't know the type of logic behind it, and from a lot of... If everyone's still listening to this point, you probably already know what I think of the film. But it seemed unoriginal, of the sense of like, okay, what can the Schwartz do? It can do
anything.
It seems like a plot device that they just put in order to make it seem like, okay, how's he going to get out? Add something to the Schwartz. Just make it better.
Well, I mean, though I do definitely see what you mean about it being a plot device, I think that it's, compared to other plot devices they could have used, I think that one was a little bit potentially better compared to other stuff that they could have done.
Like what?
I'm pretty sure they could have just made it so, like, instead of him having to use a Schwartz to save himself in certain situations or something, they could have just made something, like, happen, because this is a film made out of, like, mostly jokes and such. So they could have probably just made us, like, something happen, like, one of the soldiers inside the ship, they're like, what's this button do? And then it just deactivates or ruins everything.
Yeah, it's alright. But yes, so after a whole bunch of fighting and another fourth wall breaking segment, we see that Lone Star and everyone else, they escape with, and Scroob, Helmet, and Colonel Sanders, President Scroob, they can't find any escape pod. Everyone else is left, and they all blow up.
Even the bear escaped, but not them.
The bear escaped, the bearded lady escaped, none of which was discussed in the film prior to this. But yes, they all leave. I guess it's from the circus that they kept referring to.
Oh yeah, the circus, yes.
They referred to it twice.
Evacuate the zoo, close down the circus.
Which I guess kind of makes sense now that I think about it, but at the time, like, there's a bear. Cool.
Bears exist native in spaceships. Everybody knows that.
Obviously, it's not the west side of America, no. It's in space. So, the ship blows up, and they land on a planet, kind similar to, have you seen Planet of the Apes?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you know the ending?
Yes.
It was
yes.
It was similar
I
to
think
that.
the joke that they made there was quite funny, but if you don't understand the movie where it comes from,
then yeah, you're not going to really understand the joke.
It doesn't make sense.
You need to understand a lot of different films in order to really get the joke of it. Which, do you think, if you saw none of these films, if you didn't see Star Wars, Wizard of Oz, Planet of the Apes, any of those types of films, do you think you would still find the film entertaining?
I would definitely still find the film entertaining overall, but in some cases, yes, it'll definitely keep me sort of confused, as I wouldn't know what's going on. But it mostly keeps the sort of theme of it being funny and such.
Yeah, I guess it can still be somewhat enjoyable, but I think to get the full experience, you need like a list of films to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So, Lone Star figures out that his debt to Pizza the Hut is essentially nullified due to them dying, and he goes to Vespa to Roland, and he leaves, only taking the money that he needs to cover the expenses for everything.
Just space gas.
Yeah, and then after a little diner, we have once again another kind of reference to Alien, where Lone Star finds he gets a message from Yogurt, who essentially says, "Hey, that little medallion on your chest, yeah, that says you're a prince." Cool. So therefore, he's eligible to marry Vespa, and then they get married, and they're he's in the he can marry him, and then they marry. Ta-da. The end. We're done. So
I think it closes out better than the other movies that we watched.
It does. Instead of, I would say probably the one film that. What do you think is like the one film that has the least impactful ending for you?
The least impactful ending?
Yeah.
Still E.T. It just closed out abruptly.
Yeah. I gotta say, as much as I really liked E.T. and we talked about how much we loved it, it didn't have the same amount of impact that I would have liked to have seen.
Oh. Yes.
Of just like, I want something expanded upon this. This film does a fine job in the sense that it's like, it's done. We're all good. It ended. Fine. So now it's the time where we rate the film.
Yay.
Let's start with you.
Alright,
So you said you watched it twice.
Yes.
So out of 10 flamethrower... Sorry, out of 10 Spaceballs
the
flamethrower fires, how many fires would you give it?
I was originally going to plan to give it like about 9, but now that we've actually discussed about it and like maybe a few of the plot holes that it just sort of has filled in with like, whoa, this just happened to happen. I think I dropped that down a little bit more to like an 8 or a 7.
Okay.
Probably more so to 7.
So still pretty high.
I still do enjoy it, but like, you sort of have to discuss it first, then you sort of understand that maybe there's a few flaws or maybe something that they wanted to work upon, but they didn't really have the time or opportunity to do so, so they just sort of had to fill it in with something.
Have you ever seen or heard of a movie called The Dark Crystal?
The Dark Crystal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you know the Muppets?
Yes.
Okay, Jim Henson, it's the same person. He made the film. Have you seen it?
I did see it. I did not understand what was going on.
Exactly. And the reason behind that was because Jim Henson made this entire world, but he didn't elaborate upon it enough.
Oh, I see.
So it was very much just left up to the audience to actually create the world in their head. It wasn't until later that you had comics and books come out to further explain it. Mm-hmm. But now, today, we're getting a Netflix release of essentially continuing the story of sorts. I haven't seen that. But it had that same impact in the sense of, like, the film just... Things happened because it had to. Don't get me wrong, we might talk about the film too. But it didn't leave enough of an impact for me to actually recommend it to others.
I see.
So something like that. So you give it a 7.
Yes.
Okay. Out of 10 flamethrowers, and this might come as a shock because every other film usually has gotten a 7 or higher, I'm going to give this a 4.
Oh, I was going to do a drum roll.
Oh. A 4. Which, okay, here's why. I love to give movies the benefit of the doubt.
All right.
Ready for this? When I watched the Emoji Movie, yeah, I watched that.
You didn't.
I did. I sat through it, and I gave it the benefit of the doubt that it might be good. And I gave it a shot, and I gave that a 2. I know, that's a high score.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those, I go into every film just with an open mind of, like, something good will happen. I like spoofs. Spoofs can be funny at times. Like, I've seen Blazing Saddles, which is essentially a spoof on every single Western kind of film. But the way that differed from this was that spoof actually had a storyline, and it made sense, and it made you kind of invested in the characters. In this case, I didn't really care what happened, because I know what was going to happen. You know what's going to happen in every film, but there, as you said, lots of plot holes. The actors tried their best, which is what's giving them that high score, is that they were fully invested into it. But I felt like many of the jokes didn't quite land for me, which is why... if any of you guys see the film, you're going to notice that David and I skipped a lot of the jokes. That's because they're all very literal, and I don't know how to explain them without essentially just reading the script of what happens. So, like,
also, demonetization.
want that. But at the very beginning, you have the ship that just flies across for like over a minute or so, minute and a half.
Yeah.
And
part.
yeah, and I don't know how to explain that without just putting it down. So if people think I'm too harsh in the film, let me know, and then maybe we can bring back Anthony or something after he sees it, and we can rebut it. But for me, it just didn't land for me.
Okay, I understand it.
Yeah, so for once, we have a film that I wasn't impressed on, and it's the season finale. Oof. But still, that about does it for us.
All right.
Are there anything else? You said you had a couple fun facts about the film.
Fun facts? I think I had a few. I believe one of the facts I wanted to talk about was that while they were filming the entire thing still, green screen was still relatively new, so they didn't really know much about it, and they thought that green screen actually would hurt their eyes.
I've heard about that before, but not for this film. So what did they do?
So whenever they took a shot or anything, they had sunglasses on to protect their eyes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Actually, do you know who first made the green screen?
The green screen? I actually have no clue.
It actually began as a blue screen because the blue screen was created by RKO Radio Pictures, the people that made what's the ape one? King Kong.
Oh, I see.
In the late 1930s, and it was a special effect of a genie flying out of a bottle in the 1940 film The Thief of Baghdad.
Oh.
And the main reason between green and blue screen is that blue used to be like the main thing, but then people noticed, okay, people don't have this lime hideous green on their shirt or pants or in their eyes specifically. So that's why they kind of changed to this more green.
Green is the better color, except it's not.
Well, you get
confused.
It depends on the type of scene. So like if they were to do Jaws, they probably would use a green screen because of the water that's coming upon them.
Just replace the water with space. Don't worry
it's fun.
about
They're flying.
Sharks in outer space. It's a better movie.
Sharknado in space. I bet you it's going to happen. You just wait. 20 years from now, I'll come into this podcast and I'll go, Season 1, I told you all. So, yeah. I know you haven't been here for a while. So, once again, thank you all for coming and joining me on 10 episodes. We're going to have many more. From before, I showed Anthony my snake from Indiana Jones, and Jonathan kind of kicked me out of the house. I had him end it. So we need to think of a good way to end this podcast.
This is a good question.
I got it. Well, actually, you know what? There's a rocket ship in my backyard.
Oh, snap.
Right?
Yeah,
I never told you about that.
I'm hyped.
So yeah, we're gonna go to space. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you all in Season 2 of the Triple J Studios podcast. And until then, see you later.
Goodbye. I'm not going to Area 51 because I'm going to Mars.
Space.
Goodbye.
We're going to space.